In a crisis, you're tested. As a nation, we've been tested before, and he has too. During the worst financial collapse in a generation, with our economy on the brink, Joe Biden led the Recovery Act that saved millions of jobs and restored the middle class. During the deadliest Ebola outbreak in history, he helped lead the response that beat back an epidemic and kept Americans safe. Now we're being tested again, and Joe Biden knows the answer is not ignoring the crisis, bailing out big corporations, and dividing a nation in pain. It's working together to protect the workers who keep us strong, rebuild the middle class, pay people what they deserve, and give every American the path to a good-paying job, a quality education, and affordable health care. That's Joe Biden, tested and ready on day one. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Good morning, everyone. We are so glad to have you all here to talk about the Biden-Harris plan to fight for workers by delivering on Buy American policy and making sure that we're made in America. My name is BJ McAllister. I am the Deputy State Director for the Biden campaign in Maine. And today we will hear from leaders in the Buy American movement in Maine. From businesses to elected officials, Mainers are asking for a change. Let me be perfectly clear. President Trump chooses multinational corporate interests over Maine workers time and time again. His broken promises have crippled the American economy and have left Mainers behind. He promised a major infrastructure package and policies to end outsourcing and to bring jobs back to the United States, but instead he created a tax loophole that actually rewards companies for shipping jobs and profits overseas. While Trump talks about Buy American on TV and Twitter, he's allowed companies receiving federal contracts paid for with American taxpayer dollars to offshore at higher rates. President Trump talks and talks, but he's failed to deliver for American and Maine workers. That ends under a Biden-Harris administration. As part of their plan to build back better, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are announcing two new bold steps to ensure the future is made in America by all of America's workers. First, Vice President Biden and Senator Harris will fix our tax code so it promotes a Made in America future, establishing the Biden Made in America tax credit that rewards those who invest in us, while closing the Trump offshoring loopholes and developing an offshore tax penalty for those who ship jobs and profits overseas. Second, Vice President Biden will sign a series of executive actions in his first week as president to ensure that the federal government is delivering on its obligation to use taxpayer dollars to buy American products and support American supply chains and workers. We'll dive deeper into this policy today with our panelists. Today, we'll hear from Maine Senate President Troy Jackson, a longtime supporter of Buy American policies in the Maine legislature. Kathy Leonard, the dynamic president CEO of Auburn Manufacturing, an industry leader in manufacturing of advanced textiles for extreme heat environments. Ben Waxman, the co-owner of American Roots, a Maine company that delivers on its mission to create good jobs in the United States, deliver a quality product, and have a commitment to our community, workers, and our country to support a better, more sustainable way of life. And finally, we'll hear from Devin McNeil, co-founder of Flowfold, a Maine company that makes quality products, whether it's outdoor gear, wallets, or PPE. They work to improve the lives of everyday Mainers and individuals and the communities that benefit from their products. First, we'll start with you, Senate President Jackson. Can you talk to us about your efforts to pass Buy American legislation in the Maine legislature? Particularly, we want to hear about the struggles that Maine workers are facing in their communities and how passing Buy American could help the American worker.
Well, thanks, BJ, and thanks everyone else on the call today. I really appreciate it because this is a big deal, and it has been something that I've been very focused on. Even before I became a legislator, I think it's really important that we give every opportunity to Maine workers and businesses and overall across the United States, the people that we represent as legislators and people that serve in Congress. we're elected by them, and we should be fighting for them. So for me, it's been, quite a battle as far as, in the logging industry. We've seen consistently where not only do big multinational corporations bring in foreign workers to displace Mainers, but in addition to that, we've seen a real problem with the industry as far as exports into Canada, and because of the exchange rate, no health care, things like that, they've actually had a lot of Maine mills shut down, not only going to Canada, but going to China. And at the same time, these businesses are getting tax breaks from the U.S. government. So I've never understood, why we don't want to do everything we can to protect, our businesses and our workers here in Maine and in the United States. It's should be very clear to me that, and when I talk to my constituents, that, they want somebody to fight for them. And so with Biden-Harris, I've been extremely happy to finally have someone talking about Buy America as part of their initial platform, right at the top of the list of things they want to get done, because this is a big deal. I mean, Mainers should know that when they pay their taxes, property taxes or income taxes to the state of Maine, that, they're going to get every opportunity to compete for those tax dollars, with their business opportunities. And because of that, I think 3 separate times now, I've introduced Buy American bill, Build Maine, Hire Maine type of Buy American legislation. And the idea is that on the state level, as far as tax dollars going in the state, that we give every opportunity for Maine businesses to get those state contracts. Again, it's coming from taxpayers' dollars in Maine. I think it's important to let them have every opportunity, let them build businesses, let them expand on their businesses, and using those tax dollars just makes sense when we know that we have a workforce, when we have businesses that, make great products. You hear people talk about Yankee ingenuity. Well, I would say that Maine is at the top of anyone's idea of Yankee ingenuity, very creative and very able to do these things. And so, we have tried consistently to make sure that those tax dollars go to Maine businesses and workers. And I, like I said, I can't explain it any better than the fact that, this is coming from Mainers. It would seem like we would want to invest in those very people that are paying these tax dollars into the state when they go back out. And we saw some, small progress in this, but consistently, unfortunately, my Republican colleagues push back on this, acting like it's going to be too hard. It's not the free market and stuff like that. When I totally disagree. When other countries do everything they can in my area, in logging, the Quebec government, in my opinion, does a great job protecting their workers. And I don't know why we wouldn't want to do at least as much as we could to give the opportunity to Mainers, but instead we consistently see contracts that'll go to out of state or even out of country businesses that are actually costing us more money than what we could actually do right here in the state of Maine. And like I said, I've been pushed back numerous times by former Governor LePage when we did actually pass it and set it on his desk, and he vetoed it. And then my Republican colleagues all switched their votes. Since that time, I can't even get them to support it, which again makes no sense. 2016, whenever Trump came to the United States, to Maine, and started going on with Make America Great Again, I'm pretty sure that doing everything you can to make sure that Maine businesses have a fair level playing field and have the opportunity to compete with these contracts, I'm pretty sure that makes America great again. And when the Republicans balk on that, you can see it whenever you bring it up. They don't really know where to go. That he's out there touting this, like you said, when he's actually not delivering. Offshoring, making tax policy so that people can offshore and get even better tax rates, tax havens that they can hide money in, things like that. That's not good for the American worker. That's certainly not good for American businesses. And so, again, I can't say how much I appreciate this being like one of the top policy goals of Biden-Harris. This has been something that, quite honestly, when we blocked the border back in '98, as a group of everyday regular citizens, we were talking about why we're not fighting for Maine businesses and Maine workers. And to have, Vice President Biden make this front and center on his campaign is a big deal for me, because I think we're getting our lunch handed to us by far too many countries. I know in my world, Canada beats us every day of the week, and having a president that's willing to actually step up and fight for us is a much needed change, and makes a lot of people feel like there is hope, there is a way to invest in whatever companies they have, or maybe take that opportunity to actually buy some equipment and go to work somewhere. And so it is a big deal, and I'm really excited about it.
Thank you, Senate President Jackson. And you're right. Unfortunately, we've heard a lot of talk about Buy American, but we've seen the administration pass policies that incentivize offshoring jobs. And the proof is in the pudding. You've seen that the rate of offshoring of federal contracts has more than doubled under a Trump administration. And that means that Maine workers are being left behind. Next, we'll go to Kathy Leonard. Kathy, thanks for joining us. You've been a leader in promoting Buy American policies because you know firsthand the impact of these types of policies. Can you tell us a little bit more about your business and how Auburn Manufacturing, Androscoggin County, and Maine as a whole could benefit from a robust Buy American policy like the one the Vice President is proposing?
Thank you very much, BJ, and thank you, Senator. It's good to hear so much support for business. You used the word dynamic to describe my company and me, and that sounds flattering, but I think what it really means is that we've survived 40 years as a U.S. manufacturer by knowing when to move. Okay, you got to keep moving and hooking and jiving, as they'd call it. And that's what we've been doing for many years. And as you know, I've said so many times, I mean, we wouldn't be here without being flexible. So we're a 50-person company here in Maine, been in business since 1979. We specialize in these high temperature resistant textiles that are used. I mean, I have the most boring product line compared to these other guys you're going to hear from. Our stuff doesn't generally go into the consumer market. It goes into the industrial markets. And so we're sort of in the bottoms of industry, any kind of high temperature industry you can think of, whether it's oil refining or paper making or shipbuilding, ship repair, you name it, making steel, making glass, all of those products that go into infrastructure, our products are used to protect people, plant, and equipment from high heat and slag of welding and so forth. So we've always focused on those types of products. We didn't have competition from offshore until we'd been in business for about 10, 15 years. And that was, it was in the 90s, it started getting more and more difficult to compete with products that were being dumped into the United States. And first it was Eastern Europe because they were part of the Russian military machine at one time. And we kind of allowed that to happen in the United States because we just didn't want to fight that. It wasn't a big deal. What's a few little textile companies, you know? And then China came along in the 2000s and when they joined the WTO and we traded away some of our ability to fight dumping. When we joined the WTO, we gave away the Byrd Amendment, which allowed us to to file anti-dumping cases and actually get part of the profit back from those tariffs. That's gone now. And so little by little, we've whittled away what advantages we had, even though the United States had the technology that developed a lot of these products that are, they're being made around the world now. We got our technology from our NASA program, but other folks have just, copied our technologies and used them with much cheaper labor rates. And it's not even just labor rates. It has to do with subsidies. A lot of it has to do with subsidies, which the senator talked about there. We don't have subsidies in this country. So we're at a distinct disadvantage. However, luckily our products have persevered. We've found ways to compete. We do sell to the military in the United States. They honor the Buy American Act and the Berry Amendment, which applies to textile products specifically. And so when I started selling into the military, it was a $50,000 threshold to require Berry Amendment, which means the product has to be 100% US made. And since those times, it's gone up to $100,000 threshold. Then it went to $150,000 threshold. Then it went to $250,000 threshold, which is where it is now. And there was talk just 2 years ago about getting it up to $1 million threshold, so that anything under the threshold, which means it has to be 50% domestic content, that's a pretty tough thing to prove. So it's been, we've seen this whittling away of Buy American. So we all like to say we want to buy American, but when it comes down to dollars and cents, we've done this to ourselves in the U.S. And so it's good to hear that we want a resurgence of Buy American, and we've all got to believe. And the reason that's important is because that's where the jobs are. That's where the good jobs are in manufacturing. We still pay benefits. We have health insurance. We have 401k plans. We have a lot. We're not just a few people bringing in containers of goods from somewhere else and selling them at a big profit with no overhead. We pay taxes to the state of Maine. We pay taxes to our government, our federal government. And so I think we bring a lot more to the table. Manufacturing isn't a big part of our GDP right now, but it could be bigger. It's now at, I think, 11%, and it should be more like 15, 20%, somewhere along there. And that should be a goal for us to get there again. Because I think with the pandemic, we've all been awoken. If you weren't awake before, you're awake now at what the dangers are of buying everything from offshore. What are we doing to ourselves? So I'm glad to be. I've always loved being in the state of Maine. I know that we have a tax base here in the state of Maine. I pay my taxes gladly. I'm glad we're here. We've got a wonderful workforce. We have not laid one person off during the pandemic. We've been able to stay in business, and we're ready to keep on going. So bring on the infrastructure building. We're here. We want to hear more about this plan.
Thank you, Kathy. And you're absolutely right. The communities like Auburn and other communities across the state benefit from businesses like yours. Unfortunately, what we've seen is contracts awarded directly to foreign companies are up 30% under the Trump administration. And Scott Paul, the president of the Alliance for American Manufacturing, put it best. He said, for a president who spends almost every day on the campaign trail saying, buy American, hire American, he's done actually very little to move the ball forward on that. And he's actually done damage. Next, so thanks for your comments. And next I want to go to Ben Waxman. Ben, you're doing so much to rebuild the spirit of manufacturing, from the very mill you work in Westbrook, to the commitment to offering wages and benefits to pave the way to the middle class for your employees. Like Kathy just mentioned, manufacturing jobs do pave the way to the middle class. You do it all. You're a proud U.S. steelworkers shop. You give back to the community, but sadly, we're not seeing this same type of support for workers and communities from the current president. Can you talk to us about American Roots and why that Made in America tag is so important and what it means to you?
Sure. Thanks, BJ, and thanks for inviting us to be on this call. obviously, I want to echo what Kathy, my good friend Kathy, said when I sat at a lunch at the first year I started my company. And she gave me some advice that she probably doesn't remember. She said, keep your head down and just keep going. Keep going if you have a good idea. You know, people like auto manufacturing are a testament to perseverance. Companies like mine, I'm not going to speak for Devin and Flowfold. We look at companies like that are around for 40 years and say, you can do it, and you can do it the right way, and that's a testament to you. So thank you. We have a saying at American Roots: walk the walk and talk the talk. I'm happy to talk about what we've done as a company to date, and we started 5 years ago in 900 square feet with a simple message. We wanted to create good jobs in the community we loved, in the state we loved, in the country we loved. We wanted to make something that was 100% American-made and union-made because of our values. And most people thought we were a little crazy to think that, but that was 5 years ago, and we've, through a lot of stumbles and falls, we have kept going, and we've gone from 900 square feet with 4 brave stitchers, 2 from Iraq and 1 from Egypt and 1 from the Congo originally, all U.S. citizens now. We have grown the company to 30,000 square feet with over 110 employees. That is in large part due to the fact that we never gave up. It wasn't because in 2016, the current president said, make America great again, and he was going to walk the walk and talk the talk. I'll talk about our company and who we are, but the amount of work that it goes to put together a supply chain that makes a sweatshirt that's 100% American made, down to every single thread. The zippers are from California, the cotton's grown in Texas, it's spun in North Carolina, the threads from South Carolina, the bindings from Missouri, the labels are made in Auburn, Maine. You know, the list goes on. That took an enormous amount of work, and it shouldn't be as difficult as it is. And to my friend Kathy saying, you know, now more than ever, after what we've all witnessed in this COVID crisis, if not now, when? And it's wake up time, because my wife and I sat in our living room on March 16th, 2 days after D-Day at our company, and we thought we were going to lose the company because of the loss of revenue. And we watched nurses and doctors without PPE to save people's lives. We're the richest country in the world. We need to practice what we preach. We need to make things here. My friend Devin at Flowfold, thank God, his colleague James Moran called me and said, we got an idea, and we're gonna make face shields, and the rest is history. But now more than ever, we have to invest in supply chain infrastructure. We have to invest in smart tax incentives for businesses who make things here. We need to not give tax incentives to companies who take jobs overseas. We need to invest in workforce development. We've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in workforce training on our own this year to build up, to produce PPE. And the government, I would hope, would look at other companies like ours and others and say, okay, they're creating good jobs. How do we help them do that? And, you know, and as far as where we go as a company, I think it's going to determine a lot where this country goes in November, because we need a White House that actually believes in what we're talking about and walks the walk and talks the talk. I have not seen one proof that the current administration is committed to a true Buy American. And I would challenge that administration, and not to go there yet, but I would challenge that administration and President Trump to actually make something in America for his own brand. Because you can't say make America great again and have make America great hats made in China. That doesn't work. Americans are too smart for that, and we deserve better. We deserve better as a country, and we deserve better as leadership. And this isn't about Democrat or Republican. This is about common sense. You want to talk about making things in America, then follow through with it. Incentivize the Kathys and the Bens and the Devins. Keep good jobs here. Help us build supply chain. Incentivize the larger corporations to bring those factories back from overseas, back to this country, because there will be another pandemic. And the question is what do we do then? Can a large corporation set up a factory in a New York second? I think Devin and I witnessed that firsthand. They can't. And so then you have all these small suppliers that are trying to feed the system. And that system broke down by the early April weeks this past year. So we're very grateful. We're committed to our workforce. We have over 13 languages spoken at our factory. Our company has been built by new Americans who walked through our doors, and the credit goes to them. But it also goes to our whole company and commitment to making something that's 100% American.
Thank you, Ben. And you are certainly helping rebuild the American dream. And that's what the Biden campaign is all about. And that's what you see in this Build Back Better plan. It's about incentivizing people who are paving the way to the middle class for people and restoring the soul of America. And make no mistake, the vice president knows the soul of America is restored by investing in people that invest in the American worker. And that's what this is all about. Devin, from taking recycled sails from boats that have sailed Casco Bay to creating packs that have hiked Katahdin, you've embodied the Maine spirit. What might be most special for you and all of our participants is that you're rebooting the textile industry that Maine once led in. And that can be said for all the participants tonight. Can you tell us about Flowfold and building on that textile legacy and what excites you about electing Vice President Biden in November?
Thanks, BJ. Yeah, so Flowfold was a company that we started in 2010 after graduating college. We design and manufacture a line of everyday travel gear and accessories, primarily out of the recycled material that you mentioned. And Maine is such a foundational and iconic part of our brand. A lot of, the workmanship, the craftsmanship, the spirit of adventure, you can see throughout our brand, and it's what customers are drawn to. Our sales are vast majority outside the state of Maine. So we're talking 95% of our products are purchased by customers who don't live in the state of Maine, and 15% of our products are purchased by international customers. So we are exporting really the Maine brand and the Maine craftsmanship and quality. We're based in Gorham, Maine. Currently, we have a little under 40 employees that split their time between manufacturing Flowfold products and manufacturing PPE products, as Ben mentioned. We'll probably make just right around 1 million face shields this year, which, in March, when we were all looking at each other trying to figure out what the retail landscape looked like, was a testament to our employees' innovation and ingenuity and figuring out how we can be part of the solution, using our skills and expertise in a way that's going to help the American economy, the American consumer. And, our mission is to build quality products that improve the everyday lives of individuals and the communities that we live in. So whether or not we're making a backpack that allows you to hike Katahdin, or we're making a wallet that will lighten your load and last a lifetime, or a face shield that's going to give you the protection that you need when you're in the grocery store, or trying to open your dental shop, or trying to open your retail store where you want to be able to provide people a safe environment and your employees a safe environment. That's what we're here for, and that's why what we are as a company. For us, when I'm looking at what some of the transformational investments that we've made as a company, it gets back to investing in yourself. One of the most impactful things that we did a few years ago was do an entire staff training that was funded through the Maine Quality Centers and was in partnership with the Maine Manufacturing Extension Partnership. This training allowed us to get a full session for all of our staff on lean manufacturing and Kaizen, which is essentially continuous improvement. So if you're a Maine manufacturer, you need to stay innovative, you need to stay on top of things, and you need to continuously improve. And this program and these services weren't really attainable to us at the point we were a number of years ago. And investments in ourselves, supported through state and federal funds, has allowed us to take the next step as a company, to grow, to learn. nothing that is wrong with America can't be fixed with what's right with America. And, you know, Joe Biden's plan to quadruple the manufacturing extension partnership budget is going to make these services more accessible to small companies looking to make the leap. We need to believe in ourselves and invest in ourselves if we're really going to be the type of economy that's providing opportunities for ourselves while also making strategic investments in, you know, PPE supply chains that won't have us watching the news, as Ben said, with, you know, the most advanced economy in the world, and we can't get simple masks and face shields to the people that need them. So I think, you know, doubling down on what has made our economy successful, the fact that we can be innovative, we can provide all the qualities and values that you would want in companies, as long as you invest in ourselves and believe in ourselves. And, you know, we've benefited a lot from that, and I look forward to continuing to benefit with partnerships like that.
Thank you, Devin. And I think you hit an important point that all of our panelists hit today, which is that the jobs that you create and the products that you create help the economy further down the line. And that's why the Vice President believes in a strong Buy American policy, because it helps the worker, it helps the communities, and it helps other businesses succeed. So thanks for what you're doing. Really quickly, we're going to move into some rapid fire questions for each of you before we wrap up today. President Jackson, we're going to start with you. Joe Biden believes that when we use taxpayer dollars, we should provide incentives for U.S. companies that create good paying jobs, not U.S. companies that ship jobs overseas. You've done a lot of this in the legislature. In fact, in the past year, you passed a tax incentive to create some potato manufacturing jobs. Can you talk a little bit about how that works and how the community has benefited from that type of investment? Senator Jackson, I think in the words of Zoom, you're on mute.
Yeah. Absolutely. That is a bill that, you know, very proud that we were able to pass, basically making sure that Maine potatoes were used to create a processing facility in Washburn. For the first time, I believe in like 60 years, we're actually going to see an increase in the amount of potato acreage that's planted now, because that bill specifically says that you have to use Maine potatoes for that processing facility, which I think makes all the sense in the world. I mean, there's nothing, I mean, a lot of people complain about paying taxes, but what really hurts is whenever you see those tax dollars going to help your competitors in another country, that is like the ultimate betrayal. And we can do more in this country, in this state, if we use those dollars to promote our people, our taxpayers. And that's why that bill, I think, was, you know, really important. And it's definitely turned around an area, a part of Maine that was, you know, very depressed coming into it. So very excited about that.
Thank you, President Jackson. I think it underscores what happens when you invest in Maine companies and American companies as they invest in Mainers and Americans. Kathy, the trade deficit under Trump has surged to the highest level in 12 years. While Trump has spoken about Buy American policy, he's actually created a free trade, not a fair trade system that hurts businesses. What encourages you about what you see from the Vice President's trade plan?
I'm not hearing you.
I'm sorry about that, Kathy. I was asking what encourages you about the Vice President's trade plan?
Was that question for me?
Yes, Kathy.
I didn't get it because the connection isn't.
Sorry about that, Kathy.
I'm not getting it.
This underscores the need for a stronger broadband system across the state. And thankfully, the Vice President has a plan for that too. We'll come back to you and hopefully it clears up.
Yeah.
We'll go to Ben next. Ben, you're creating jobs right here in Maine using American-made textiles, and you'll compete with competitors who are slapping that American tag on products that aren't fully made here. How will the Vice President address that? Ben, you're on mute.
Muted. Sorry, BJ. The vice president, he's outlined, from what I've read and understood, and why we're supportive of his candidacy as a company, is a comprehensive Buy American component within the Office of Budget and Management that's real. And when he talks about that Buy American label, that department is going to enforce that. The fact that our company goes above and beyond, that it says made in America, it says union made, it's 100% American made. Now, there are competitors out there that like to put made in America on a garment of any kind or a product, and only 25% of the material is actually from the USA. That's a problem. That's an unfair playing field. It has to be level. Politicians have to stop talking about it and do something, because we can't expect to provide a great product at a reasonable price that says 100% American made, while some of our competitors are saying made in America, but hey, by the way, only 20% is. So I'm very excited to see Vice President Biden enforce that through a committee through the Office of Budget.
Thank you, Ben. Devin, you talked a little bit about your pivot to PPE, and we appreciate everything you've done to create that supply chain. You've also talked a little bit about how excited you are about the parts of the Vice President's plan to incentivize the work that you do to grow your company. Can you talk about what that means for your employees?
Absolutely. So any employee, any individual in a business wants to feel like they're a part of a company, that there's professional development opportunities, and that everybody just wants to learn and grow and provide value. So having access to training to further your skills, to further your value, to continue to work on more challenging problems that solve harder and harder problems are things that everybody wants as humans. And so to provide that value and to have that access to the training and to the expertise, experience is a function of time. And if you can get connected with people who have a lot more experience and have put in a lot more hours than you, you're just speeding up your learning curve. And that is best for everybody.
Thanks, Devin. Kathy, we'll try again. The trade deficit under Trump has reached its highest level in 12 years. While Trump spoke about Buy American policy, he's actually created a free trade, not a fair trade scheme that hurts businesses. What encourages you about what you see from the Vice President's plan?
Well, what I like about the Vice President's plan is that it is based on experience. I believe that, he's been in government for so long and understands the working of government. And what I see is that we have a lot of the pieces to make Buy American work, just that we're not using them. We're not using our enforcement that we should be doing, either by customs and so forth. Economic sanctions are important. We haven't been doing that, and that hurts manufacturers. And I like the fact that there would be consistency. It's one thing to talk about a plan, but to go to the follow through needs to take place as well. So business needs to see that these are the rules and we're going to enforce them. And I think Joe Biden knows how to do that. So I am pleased about that.
Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah.
And thanks to all of our panelists today. Most simply, Vice President Biden's plan is to make it in America. And it starts with Buy American policy, like we've spoken about today. And it's also about, as Kathy mentioned and as Ben mentioned, enforcing Buy American rules. And then finally, with this kind of prioritization, you heard from all of our panelists today that when you invest in the American manufacturer, you invest in the American worker, and you invest in the American community. And this plan will create 5 million jobs, good jobs, union jobs, high-tech jobs of the future. So it's so important that we look into how we can make it so it's built back better and make sure that it's built back better in America. So thank you.
I wanted to add one thing in that when I listened to everybody's talk, You add up the jobs that we represent, that's 200. In the textile industry, they say that for every job, you are supporting 3 more jobs. So just the 3 of us are supporting 600 jobs in Maine and the United States with all the support that we get in the supply chain as well as the services that we use. That's pretty dramatic.
Very dramatic. And those are all good paying middle-class jobs. And that's why we need a president that believes in investing in middle-class workers and investing in growing the middle class. And that's what the vice president's plan to Build Back Better will do. So thank you all for joining today. And we look forward to winning in 49 days.
Thank you.
Thank you.